What's going on, YouTube? So today's review is going to be on the Ryobi 2 peak horsepower plunge router. So just in case you weren't aware, I have already done a video on this, a video review, and a little tutorial on the plunge router, and for some reason my 12-minute video ended up a one minute video. It was working fine, and all of a sudden a few of my subscribers had sent an email to me saying that, hey, we only got about a minute on this and it's not really showing us anything. So I apologize for that. There's nothing I hate more than going online to look at something and wasting your time to just see a video that's not working. So I really do apologize for that. I have no idea what happened. Maybe there was a glitch. It worked fine for the last 4 months, but then all of a sudden it went down to about a minute worth of video. So I'm redoing this just for you. So that being said, I mean, I guess that is a good thing in a way. I've had a chance to use this a lot within those past few months, whether it was cutting door hinges or trying to make signs or whatever. And I really got a feel for this, even though I had a feel for it before. I've used this so much that I pretty much know this router inside and out. So what we're going to do during this review is we're going to show you the different functions of it, how this actually works, how you can cut out a door hinge if you needed to, and how to adjust it, how the plunge and the depth actually works, and just the overall features, how it turns on, how to adjust your bits, and all that good stuff. So what I want to talk about first is the specs. So you can use a 1/2 inch collet with this or a 1/4 inch. It comes with an adapter, and I'm going to show you how that is put in and taken back out. So you can use a lot of different router bits with this router. So that's a nice feature right there. It's an AccuStop, and it's about 15,000 to 25,000 RPM for speed. It's a soft start, and it includes the adapter once again for the different size bits. It weighs 8.5 pounds, so it is a little heavy. It is a little bulky, I will tell you that. All right. The plunge depth, you can go from 0 inches to 2 inches, and the speed once again is 15,000 to 25,000 RPM. It's 120 volt, and once again 2 peak horsepower. As for design, once again it is a little bulky, but it's built sturdy. I've dropped this thing a few times and it's taken a beating. So I'm really happy with the way this is actually built. So you can see here you got the 2 handles that you can hold on to while you're doing your routing, and it's a good ergonomic grip, I would say. And another feature, just so I don't forget, this little shield right here that protects your eyeballs, because this thing will spit up, chew out some wood. All right, this thing is powerful. I will say that about this router. It is powerful. I've used this so much, and it has a lot of energy. So let's get started on the on-off, the basic things, the on-off, and how you adjust the speeds and all that good stuff. So how you actually turn this thing on and off, and don't worry, this is not going to go through my workbench, hopefully, is this little red button right here on the side. So it's plugged in, and you just flip that on. And that turns it on and off. Pretty simple. On the front here, you have your fast and slower speeds, right? So it goes A, B, C, D, E, and F. So I'm going to turn this on. I'll show you how that adjusts. And just so you know, all the way turned up to the F is fast. That's the fastest it's going to go. So now we're going to turn it down a bit. And we're on the A. So very slow speed. So you can adjust that for harder woods, softer woods, whatever you need. So just to let you know, that is the speed control. Very simple to use. This little knob right here is called the AccuStop. On a lot of routers, you're going to have a couple screws or bolts or whatever you want to call them, but they're stops. So that actually allows you to adjust the height while you're trying to adjust the plunge and so on. What's nice about this is you can turn this up or down. So righty-tighty, right? So that brings it down. And then if you turn it left, it's gonna bring it up. We'll keep on going here. So that's up, and it goes up a little bit further than that. But let me zoom out here for a second and I'll show you how this works. All right, so now I'm cutting out a hinge on my door, okay? And this wrench here that actually comes with this is what actually loosens and tightens this over here to adjust your bit or take your bit out, put a new bit in. And I'll show you that. I'll show you all of that in this video. But say you want to, like I said, install a new hinge on your door, okay? You need to know the depth, right, of that hinge. So say this is about 1/8 of an inch. I'm not going to use a tape measure to measure that and then go over to the door and try to trace that out. It just doesn't make sense. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your hinge, all right, and like I said, we're just going to call this the hinge, and we're going to put it right here on the AccuStop, okay? But before we do that, actually, we want to bring this down, okay? And you can see that bit right there is touching flush up against the table right now, okay? So that's basically setting me at 0. And then I'm going to lock it. Once again, I will show you how that locks. So here's my hinge. I'm going to put this in, right? So you got like this little measuring bar right here. I'm going to loosen that up. And you see how that drops down on, like I said, the hinge. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this back up again. So that gives me my 1/8 of an inch. That's telling me that's how thick that hinge is, okay? That's how far down I need to go with this router to cut out that perfectly cut hinge. Okay, so now what I want to do is, even though I'm all the way down on the floor, I can't go down anymore until I loosen this back up. I'm going to bring it like this, and now I'm going to tighten it again. So all I did was brought that all the way down until this hit the AccuStop, okay? So now you can see that this is not sitting flush on my table anymore. That gives me the thickness I need, the depth I need to cut out that hinge perfectly. And that is how that works. And it's a very cool process, very simple. And all routers have it, but the AccuStop is a little bit different. You know, that's Ryobi's thing. So instead of having those 3 bolts there, you're gonna have that AccuStop. You can adjust this. If you have to turn it down for a larger hinge and so on, you can do that, but that's all you have to do. Once again, all you're gonna do is bring this down flush to the table, lock it in place, put your hinge or whatever you're trying to do there. Once this is brought up, put your hinge or whatever, and doesn't matter what size it is, put that there, drop it down, pull it out. You can see there's a gap there. I'm going to unlock it again, push it all the way down, and then I'm going to lock it from there. And that's it. You got your depth adjustment. Pretty simple. So you're probably asking how I actually lock this. This is one of the downsides to the Ryobi. Even though this system works great, this little switch here, this little lever, whatever you want to call it, this is what locks it. It gets loose, okay? When you first get this, it's probably gonna be really tight. You're gonna be like, wow, is this supposed to be this tight? But then it gets a little loose, and for some reason, I just can't tighten it up. And don't get me wrong, it works fine. But if you're really going at something with this router, then it might come loose, and I don't like that. I wish there was a way to tighten this up. Maybe somebody that's watching this video has a good way. I know there's a screw right here, but that just tightens that to the actual mechanism. But long story short, it still works fine. But it does feel a little loose. I wish I can get that to crank down just a little tighter. But anyway, so this is how you would do it. So right now I'm up, and I can adjust this to wherever I want, or I can bring this to the edge of the table here, and I can go down that way like this, and all I would do is tighten it like that, and now it's not going to go anywhere. And as soon as I switch that again, you can move this up and down again. So that is what locks this into place. All right, so let's take a look and see how we actually put these bits in. Really simple. Once again, you can go smaller bit, you can go the 1/2 inch, you can go to 1/4 inch. The 1/4 inch is an adapter. Very simple to do. So let's take a look at this first. What you're gonna do is, this screws in here, right? It screws in on underneath. But this right here is your adapter, okay? and that is where it goes. So if you want to use a 1/2 inch, okay, if you had a 1/2 inch bit, you don't need this adapter. This would just screw in here like this. Your bit goes in, and then you tighten it down, and I'll show you how to tighten it down. If you wanted a smaller bit, right now I'm using a 1/4 inch, and this is just a straight bit right here, okay? This is what you can use on a plunge or whatever. So this right here goes in like so. And what that allows you to do is use this smaller bit. And once you screw that in, you can see that these start to tighten down on this. So you're gonna actually put this in and then pull it out just a bit, right? So you want it right about there. So you actually put that bit in and then just pull it out a little bit. You don't want it all the way in. So pull it out a little bit. So let's put this in. I'm gonna use the 1/4 inch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on. And if you always use a 1/4 inch, then you don't need to take that bit out, or the adapter out ever. So now I'm going to put a bit in. Okay, I'm gonna put it all the way in and I'm gonna pull it out just a bit. And now I'm just going to push this button right here, okay, and spin that until it locks into place. Okay, you see that? So now what I want to do is I'm going to hand tighten it, but I'm going to use the wrench that they gave me, and I'm going to tighten that down. Okay, just want to make sure you don't have to, you know, Hulk Hogan this thing or anything, but you just want to make sure that it's snug and it's not going anywhere. So now you can release that button, and that's not going anywhere. Okay, so that is how you use the 1/4 inch adapter. If you have the larger bits, you just take that adapter out and go straight in. If you use the smaller bits, if you use the 1/4 inch instead of the 1/2 inch, you want to use that adapter. But it comes with this. What I use a lot is, you can pick these up pretty cheap. These are the Ryobi straight bits. You can go out and buy bits that run 30 bucks a piece. That's up to you. These seem to work pretty nice for me just for what I do. But that is how you are going to change out a bit, take the bit out, and so on. All right, as for the base of this, it's larger. I like that, and the reason for that is because when I'm doing hinges, I use a jig, and I actually have a video review out for the Ryobi door hinge jig. Check it out. I use this router on that. Works excellent. But just to let you know, so this is 6 inches wide with the width, and about 5.5 inches vertical. So if you're using, let me get this out here. If you're actually using the hinge jig, this is pretty nice because you can just go straight up on top. You can go straight up on top of this and you don't have to worry about falling in like a lot of the other routers. All right, so now what I want to do is actually show you this thing in action. I'm going to do a plunge route. So if you're doing maybe new doors in the house and you're putting on some new knobs, this is perfect. Maybe you need a place in the middle of a piece of wood that you need to start a cut. Doesn't really matter. This works perfectly. I know in the last video I did, a lot of people said, you didn't show us the plunge routing enough, and that's fine. So I'm going to make up for it, hopefully, with this video now. All right, so what I actually did was adjusted this AccuStop all the way down. Let me zoom this out a little bit. All the way down, because I don't want this to stop me from being able to plunge my full depth. And I brought this up as well, so I don't want this hitting that. But once again, this is going to go down about 2 inches. You can actually bring this bit down a little bit further if you need a little bit more depth. It's always been fine. It's held in there for me, no problem. You don't want to bring this down too much because you want that grip, but if you do need to adjust that a little bit more for a little bit more depth, it will work for you. But I'm also going to take off the shield so you can see inside while this is cutting a little bit better. That being said, wear your safety glasses, because I'm telling you, or even hearing protection, because it gets a little loud. But wear your safety glasses, because I'm telling you, you're going to see this. It's going to shoot wood all over the place. It just chews it up and spits it out. So let's do a plunge depth straight down. And once again, this is good for if you're putting knobs on a door or just trying to find a place to cut, maybe a scroll saw or something. So I don't know how well this picks up, but you can see perfectly routed hole. And that, I mean, that's not the exact size you would use probably for a doorknob, but just trying to give you an idea. So it went through. This is oak, by the way. This is solid oak. So goes through pretty good. And you know, it's going to depend on your actual bit how well this performs for you, because it's not going to be the router itself. I mean, this thing has more than enough power to run. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to move this thing around the board using the plunge feature. I'm not going to actually set the depth yet. I'll show you how to do that for hinges and so on. But let me turn this down. I'll go lower with this a little bit, and we'll see how that works. We'll just use the plunge here a little bit. All right, you can see here that we went down a couple different depths here, and you know, this is good if you're doing sign work, which I gotta be honest with you, some of these guys that do signs, I always thought that it was so easy just to get on a router and start carving out signs and making names. Man, they make it look easy, and some of these guys on YouTube are just professionals. They're unbelievable. Just such talent. You gotta give props to these guys. But so that's the that's the gist of it. I mean, that's basically what you would do for the plunge. I mean, free range, up and down. You know, if you're trying to make a design on wood, that's what you would use. The other thing you can do is if you're coming up on the side here, and actually we can show you that real quick. Let's do, let me zoom out a little bit. We'll just do like a straight cut on the side of the wood using the plunge feature. So obviously that's not perfect, but I'm just trying to give you an idea, you know. Or if I wanted to bring this up, say if I wanted to come down a little bit, I can lock this here. We'll just cut a straight line right across the board. So let's try that. So you can see that it's sort of planed it, and that's a good way to get your depth. So let me show you how to actually adjust this to do a hinge. Okay, so new piece of oak. We're going to use our wrench slash hinge, because I don't really have any hinges here. But we're going to use that to find our depth, and then once we do that, I'm going to show you how that sits flush to the actual piece of wood. So what we're going to do, remember, we're going to get our router here, okay, and we're going to bring this all the way up. So let me zoom out a little bit. We're going to bring it all the way up so we can move this, and we're going to come down, and that zeroes it out, and you're going to tighten that down right there. Okay, so right now I'm level with that board. Okay, so now what I want to do, so I want to find the width of our hinge. So I will bring this up a little bit, the AccuStop. Alright, so now what I want to do is I'm going to put this on there, and I am going to drop that, and that's going to tell me the width that I need, right? So there's my gap. So I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm going to loosen that up again. I'm going to drop that. And I'm not sure how well you can see, but now you can see that I adjusted that depth to fit that perfectly. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out a little chunk here, and I'll be able to put that in. I'm not going to cut out a perfect, you know, wrench thing here. So I'm going to cut out like a little square, and I'm going to put that in that square, and I'm going to show you how well that actually adjusted. So here we go. Should be good enough. All right, so now, excuse me, we're gonna put this down in there, and you can see that is perfectly flush with the piece of wood. So if this was a hinge, and you were to cut that out for a hinge, that hinge is gonna sit in that door notch perfectly now. So that is how the Ryobi router, plunge router, works. And I have to be honest with you, it works great. The only issue, once again, that I have with this is this back here. I mean, sometimes if you're doing a lot of routing, if you bump this, that's going to come up on you, it's going to throw off your cut. I mean, it's pretty simple to go back and lock it, but that shouldn't do that. So other than that, that's really the only issue. It has a lot of power. It's precise. I mean, you can see that. I mean, once again, if I put that up there, I mean, that's flush. That's perfectly flush with that. So it's very precise, heavy duty. I've dropped this thing a couple times. I never had a problem with it breaking. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but I don't think that's what happened. I just think that over time it's just, you know, worn down maybe a little bit. But all in all, if I were to give this a 1 to 5 star, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, I'm going to give it a 4 star. And the only reason I'm going to give it a 4 star is because of this back here. If that would actually say tight, I'd be happy. I'd be ecstatic with this thing. But unfortunately, it gets loose on you. At least it did on mine. Maybe nobody else has that problem, but I'm giving it a 4 star. I recommend it. This is a great tool for not only somebody that's just trying to do some woodworking around the house, but maybe somebody that's, you know, flipping houses or a little bit more professional. And then you get up into your very expensive grade tools, which obviously those are going to be for the very serious woodworker. But this right here, I'm happy with it. So I hope this review helps you. If it does, please thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll have more tools on here for you shortly.